You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.
Welcome to Volatility Views, the premier program for volatility traders. Each week, we'll take a deep dive into the world of volatility with in-depth analysis, trading activity reviews, strategy breakdowns, cutting-edge education, and much more. We'll also bring you exclusive conversations with the traders, researchers, and asset managers who are reshaping the volatility landscape. If it involves volatility, then you'll find it on Volatility Views. Staying on top of the market is practically a full-time job. Tasty Trade has the advanced tools and robust market data to help you keep up with the latest shifts. Get advanced charting, 100-plus indicators, options backtesting, deep market data, and more with your account. Join Tasty Trade today and earn a double commission rebate up to $3,000 total on your stock and ETF option trades for 30 days. Visit tastytrade.com/insider for more info. All applicable regulatory exchange and clearing fees still apply. Options involve risks and are not suitable for all investors. Learn more about Tasty Trade promo terms and conditions at tastytrade.com/double. Offer expires May 31st, 2026. Tasty Trade Incorporated is a registered broker-dealer and member of FINRA, NFA, and SIPC. And now, it's time to take a deep dive into the world of volatility. It's time for Volatility Views.
All right, everybody, that music means we are back. It is another Vol Friday. Time to talk a little bit of Vol. My name, of course, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Radio Network. Back in the Chi-Town studio after my extended sojourn in the Southern studio. Our pro folks already getting a taste of what went down over there at OIC. They got to listen in and participate in some of our live interviews down there, also getting already some of the panel audio hitting them. That'll be unfolding for the rest of you in the coming weeks. If you want to check out all that early, get exclusives like oddities coming up right after this show. Awesome pro Q&As like the one we did right before OIC with Tom Sosnoff and a whole bunch of others. TheOptionsInsider.com/pro is the place to go to learn all about it as we learn all about who's joining us on the old program today. I am pleased to say he has recovered from his fit of volatility madness. You know, he got so sick of shorting this market and getting run over that he just blew a gasket last week. And lo and behold, Mr. Dr. Vix, the market gods have rewarded you this week with a little bit of red. Welcome back, sir. How you feeling?
Just a little bit of red, yeah. So I'm just not old enough to do the midnight White Castle thing anymore.
White Castle took you out?
I did, yeah. White Castles did me in.
I didn't think those are so heavily cooked. I didn't think you could get food poisoning from that.
Apparently, let's just say I made a poor choice. The exams were last Thursday. I was given exams all day. I didn't finish up till about 9:30 and hadn't had a chance to eat. I'm like, hey, this sounds like a good idea. It's not a good idea.
You've been hanging out with too many college kids.
I have.
White Castle and Taco Bell after 2 a.m., sir.
Yeah. But I'm back here. I'm in one piece, and I'm ready to talk about the volatility.
Then let's do it. It is time for the Volatility Review.
It's time to break down the latest developments in the volatility trading world. It's time for the Volatility Review.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Volatility Review, the portion of the show where we do just that. We break down the week that was and indeed still is from a vol trading and trending analysis and all sorts of fun perspectives. And if you've been waiting for a little bit of get back on the short side, on a little bit of the long vol side, then you're still looking good, but you were looking really good earlier this morning because we finally got a little bit of red in this market. Unless you've been living under a rock, listeners, it's been just a slew of green on the screen. We've joked about it for week upon week now, certainly post ceasefire, that the market doesn't care seemingly about the conflict in the Middle East, doesn't really care about the prospect of raising rates. Earlier this week, we had some pretty hot inflation numbers. Didn't really seem to care about that. Did really like the retail sales number because that was bullish. Also liked all the CEOs getting on the plane to China because maybe that meant more AI goods flowing back and forth. And then apparently not liking all those CEOs getting back on the plane today without much real concrete developments in any shape or form over there. So the market's selling off a bit today. At one point, over 1%. S&P dipping back below 7,400 ever so briefly. I think we got a few handles below it in the cash. So well over 1%. VIX cash had spiked to about 18.5, which put it up about 1.25 points. As we're kicking off the show proper here, you know what's going to happen. You know the midday buy the dip's going to kick in, and we're starting to see that. S&P still off about 0.9% now. Dow off 0.8%. NASDAQ still off over 1% though, 1.13%. And VIX cash kind of vacillating now between 18 and 18.5, right around 18.15 right now. So that puts it up still almost a point, about 0.95 points or so on the week. Our old pal Volley, Mr. Scott Nation's Just the Facts, ma'am. Vol edition 1535. That's up almost 0.75 point, about 0.7 from where it was this time last week. Again, that's just the at the money straddle, no skew, no nothing else. So if you don't like people messing with your vol, maybe Volley is the flavor for you. And then VVIX kind of hanging out pretty close to where it was this time a week ago, at a 97 when we kicked off the show, up about 1 point from where it was this time last week. All that a long way around to saying, Mr. Rhoads, if while you were ill or while the rest of us were just hanging out this week, if we all had just overwritten our vol positions, we probably would be doing all right now, sir.
Oh, most definitely. Just and that hasn't been the case for some time here. What's interesting with respect to the volatility this past week is not necessarily what's going on in the S&P 500, but what is going on with the NASDAQ. And the NASDAQ, the 5% out of the money to the upside, implied vol, 30-day, 5% out of the money, upside implied vol is around 84%, the level of the out of the money 5% to the downside. And we've got a similar situation with the Russell 2000 where it looks a lot more like a smile than a skew. The S&P 500 is not too much out of line, but the other two are as far as skew goes, kind of the upper end. So some of what might be driving volatility is this fear of missing out to the upside. And I just wonder if we had some excess call buying, especially in the technology area, leading up to all the tech CEOs getting together and going over to China with the anticipation that something good was going to come out of it. It's rare that we see index implied vol driven by the call side, but we did see it over the past few days. My assumption is it will start to back off now that they're on their way home.
Are you implying that there was some potential front running ahead of this little sojourn to China, sir? Is that what you're implying? How dare you?
Not necessarily front running, but just this expectation there'd be all these
hyper speculative. I see what you're doing here. I don't think I can't read between the lines. You're trying to get me interested in Vixen, aren't you? AKA VXN. Is that what you're trying to do?
I might just get you involved in VXN. I want to take a look at how VXN, what it's doing right now, but what it's doing with respect to skew as well. And not just that, but RVX too. I'm pulling you into two of them.
Oh, old school. If you go back into the archives of this show, listeners, we were, I think, literally the only anything on the planet that talked about RVX, aka the Russell 2000 VIX. A very short-lived tradable product. I miss those days. That'd be a hot product these days. You think SIBO looking for some products maybe would want to cast some eyes back that way. By the way, you can't call it VXN Vixen. I was told that by I had some female staff members who came over from the SIBO, and they were there when certain staff members internally at SIBO, let's say, were pitching it as Vixen, and they took umbrage at that naming. So,
oh, come on. This is the same place that did T-shirts for PM settlement that said afternoon delight. Don't get me. No. You can call it Vixen if you want to.
Okay, I have your permission.
Okay.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, we had SPX PM when it first came out. We had T-shirts that said afternoon delight. We had a Catholic school visit. Don't drink your water, Mark. You might spit it out on this one. Had a Catholic school visiting, and somebody gave a couple of those T-shirts to the nuns.
Oh. Probably went right over their heads. They're like, "Oh, thank you very much."
Let's hope.
Or they used it for like dust claws when they got back to the convent. You know?
Yeah.
But that's funny. And actually, speaking of offending people, Mr. Rhoads, I dare say it, the show is only a few minutes old. You already have offended the chat. They point out a good thing, which I was not going to point out because I'm a polite fellow. But they said, "Russell, don't you know that almost the entirety of our pro chat is long Portillos? So you have offended them deeply by saying you went to White Castle instead." That's all I'm saying.
We don't have it in Indiana.
I'm just passing along the message. That's all I'm saying.
All right, I'm just telling. But that's the first thing I had when I got back to Illinois this week.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, yeah.
Did you go for the highest priced item? Did you go for the ribs to support the stock, sir?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, golly, it's $50 to order Portillo's for one person now via DoorDash.
Yeah, I believe it. You go in person, it's not
away.
that much cheaper. Maybe that's why the stock is kind of in the toilet right now. After being one of the best performers of the year, the last earnings, no bueno, listeners. So interesting stuff out there. Speaking of interesting stuff, Mr. Rhoads, I got so excited. I did not load up the Vol Surface, so I will pull that up now, sir. And then we can play the home version of the game. What is going on right now, listeners, on the old Vol term structure? Let's find out together, shall we? Last week, let's see, we had the May future just a little bit north of 19. Right now, it's a little bit south of 19, so it's down about 2/10 of a point. So, again, as I joked earlier in the show, pretty much if we overrode everything and went away for a week, you're not looking too bad right now. June last week was at about a 2060, actually ticking up slightly right now at a 20.75, so actually up slightly on the week. I know these are absolutely wild numbers, listeners, up a whopping 0.15. Let's go out to October. Last week on the show, we were at right around 22 3/4. This week, a 1/10 of a point north of 23, so up a whopping 0.35 points out there in the oh-so-crucial midterms October cycle. Mr. Rhoads, anything catching your eye in a very similar term structure to last week?
No, we've still got that October-November situation where they're in line with each other. That's probably my biggest VIX trade right now, because when you're wrong, there's nothing wrong with getting out of the way. And I assume 90% of the chat is just going to do the opposite of everything that I say today.
Well, you have already offended their
I know. I'm so sorry. I feel
deepest core.
They know how sensitive I am. May, which goes off the board next week, is at a pretty good premium, which is, I guess, somewhat understandable as we go into one of these risky weekends where maybe things are going to start to. You just never know what's going to happen over the weekend. But you've got basically a 65-cent premium for the May contract that goes off the board. So there are some chances to buy some puts if you think that the green is going to continue in the equity market next week after we got a little volatility spike today.
The weekends. I've learned just the more dire the news seems over the weekend, the more just to fade it on the open on Monday. That just means we're going to open even higher on the open on Monday, sir.
Yeah. If you ever tweet anything again about my secret trade on the Sunday when the news is coming out, I'm going to automatically try to figure out how to get out of that position.
Yes, instantly.
It still worked, but not nearly like I think we all thought it would.
I've done that a couple of times
on Sunday.
It's like, they're actually shooting again, actually seizing ships. This should mean something. No, we're super good on the open. Nobody cares.
Nope.
Mr. Rhoads, nobody cares. We're already past that. Don't you know they're building mega data centers in Utah? Who could care about the Strait when such things are going on?
Oh, they're building mega data centers between here and the Volatility Lake House. They're all over the place in Indiana right now.
By the way, I just have to point this out. We mentioned this on Option Block yesterday. It was one of my favorite AI nuggets pretty much ever so far, which is I've been saying for a while, every company, I don't care what you do, if your earnings are suspect and maybe you're not having a great quarter, just whisper the magical letters of AI on your earnings call and bam, 20%. Yesterday we're on the Option Block and we're talking about Aramark, the corporate cafeteria people who, let's face it, corporate cafeteria is not exactly all the rage these days. All the ones around near the studio have all closed, including the Boeing one right across the street. So not exactly a great business. What did they do, Mr. Rhoads? They whispered the magical letters of AI. Now they're going to serve food to the robots in the data centers, and apparently the market loves it. They ate up their stock with a spoon. So there you go, sir.
I love it. It's just like Long Island Tea becoming a crypto company. Remember when that happened? It was like $1 stock, and
The old pivot to crypto is now the pivot to serving food to robots in a remote data center in the middle of nowhere with a staff of 8 people. But that's apparently going to save Aramark, and apparently the street loves it. So there we go. I guess I'm the crazy one, Mr. Rhoads. Those robots have to eat something.
They gotta nutrient themselves so they can answer our difficult questions and make fun memes.
My joke for a long time was I'm waiting for Levi's, the jeans company, to pivot towards AI, but I should have had Aramark on that list as well because they beat them to the punch. Is the market beating itself to the volume punch out there? As I really just stretch that metaphor beyond any usable value, listeners? You can tell it's kind of a slow week when we're stretching metaphors about Aramark the whole way through. But that said, maybe things are turning around. They kind of have to because VIX volume fell out of bed over the last couple of weeks. I think I could say it, Mr. Rhoads. I think it's official. Can I officially say summer is here, sir? The ADV is now 677. It's down almost exactly 200,000 contracts. We are far away from the 1 million contracts a day level. So can I say it? Is summer officially here? Do we need a drop for that, sir?
When we get to the weeklies, most definitely, because this was by far the lightest weekly volume I've seen this year.
So there you go, listeners.
And one other thing I did want to point out on the volatility review, things may really be settling in. This is going to be the first 3-week streak without a high above 20 since the first 3 weeks of this year. We haven't had we haven't had a curly number to start off VIX or a crooked number to start off VIX. We definitely haven't had it with a single digit number like a 9. But we haven't had it starting with 20 for the last 3 weeks. I was just looking at the intra-week high and didn't even have to make my adjustment.
There you go, listeners. If you've been loading up on the 20 strike and above, not exactly been boom times for you out there. Let's see. Is it boom times in VIX options? As I said, that VIX options volume is kind of falling out of bed. It seems like they heard us because all of a sudden, it seems like VIX is kind of waking up. Go figure. A little bit of actual red on the screen. Vol actually going up. I know it's not threatening a 20 handle, but hey, we're in the ballpark at least in the cash. So that seems to be driving some flow because even since the start of the show, we were barely at 300,000 contracts. Now we're north of 500,000, 515,000. So things starting to perk up. Dare I say it, they might even hit that new summertime appropriate ADV of 677. I was just joking a week or so ago. Now they're at 650 ADV. Now we kind of are there, listeners. So a very different ball game. Is it a different ball game in our top 10 size positions in VIX options? The answer is slightly yes, in the sense that there is now one more put to be found in the top 10. Let's see if we can find it together, listeners, as we are now 8-2 calls over puts. Cost you 188,000 contracts to break into the top 10 this week, which is getting a little bit hefty, all things considered. That gets you to our old pal, the June 22s, 188,000 of those. If Russell's saying we haven't flirted with the 20 handle pretty much all week, then the 22 is not exactly looking great. But nonetheless, they are number 10. Number 9, back to the dark side we go, 192,000 of the May 18 puts. What is the new 15 put on the chart, listeners? Is it the 18 put? Is it, dare I say it, the 20 put? I don't think it's a 20 put because the 20 put has a pretty good chance of actually paying. So 15 puts, as you recall last year, listeners, never paid once, hence the joke. Number 8, 215,000 of the June 45. So right back to the fun we go. Number 7, 223,000 of the May 30s. So we are kind of all over the place this week, which is kind of interesting. Number 6, 227,000 of the May 20 puts, our old buddies, A lot of people have tilted with this 20 strike with varying results. If you took your profits and got the heck out of Dodge early, you're looking pretty good. If you kind of rode these a little bit, maybe not the best. Number 5, 235,000 of the June 25s. Number 4, exactly 250,000 of the May 25s. So similar sizing on both. Maybe we'll get a little bit of a roll going on out there. Of course, it's kind of late to roll the May 25s at this point. Not much left. Not much meat on the bone, but we'll see. Maybe we'll get a little bit of roll action. Number 3, a little bit north of 250,000 of the May 70s. 253,000 to be precise. Number 2, 286,000 of the June 35s. And the big dog, yet again, in VIX options, kind of a outlandish strike. About 400,000, 395,000 to be precise. So a decently sized position as well of the June 65. So once again, listeners, we are all over the place in VIX options. And once again, the top of the list, the June 65s. But you know what's always top of our listeners' lists every week? That's right. It's Russell's Weekly Rundown.
Now, Russell's Weekly Rundown. Now, Russell's Weekly Rundown.
Mr. Rhoads, I have saved infinite dollars by queuing up your theme to play twice. There's so much time I have saved.
I know, and I appreciate it.
Just hitting that button twice in a row, a lot of effort, sir.
Yeah. I lost where I'd put this on our sheet. Darn it. There it is.
You lost your own notes.
I lost the notes on the sheet. I was looking to, honestly, what I was doing was I was trying to see where VIX was when you did the crystal ball last week. And I was going to put the number in and figure out what Gretchen had.
Oh.
So I was in a different spot.
You were getting ahead of yourself. That's your own fault.
I was getting ahead of myself. So, all right, let's see. Those are old. There's some old trades on the script that I'm looking at. So all right. Monday. VIX at 1842. Somebody bought 150, and man, it was a light week. There were only 6 weekly trades over 100 on Monday. Tuesday, it was much less. And
so
usually
you're saying no 15,000 lots this week?
Yeah, I mean, there's some big ones.
Okay.
We'll get there. But okay, yeah. On Monday, VIX at 1842, somebody bought 150 of the May 27th, 21 calls for $1.41. They sold the 30 calls for 41 cents. Kind of like that one. I like a trade that, that the spike to 30 is kind of the short level there. I feel like you won't get completely run over with something like that. So you see, here comes a big trade that we're all just going to shake our heads over. Tuesday, VIX, it was really either 17.99 or 18.01, but I averaged it to 18. In about the 5 minutes after the official equity market closed, somebody bought 6,250 of the May 13th 20 calls at 7 cents. They expired the next day. The open interest was 6,885. So logic states that was a cover, but it wasn't. Oh. That was an opening transaction.
Really?
After the market closed, just in case something happened overnight.
What are the odds of that? The exact same flow almost.
I mean, it could happen, but I mean, and I could see somebody going, all right, let's take a flyer. Let's buy 100 of these calls for $7 each or something like that. 6,250 and a bunch of blocks at the end. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if somebody thought they knew something or not, So, and if I were going to do something like that, I'd freaking buy the UVXY instead.
And unfortunately, no VRO, not kissing 20.
Yeah. So, but the open interest did jump by about 6,200 on Tuesday. So that was an open. I went to look for the exit. I was like, well, where they sold those at? I thought it was like a nice cover and I was going to be very complimentary. That ain't complimentary.
That's just
Wednesday
throwing money into the wind. By the way, if you're wondering, listeners, VRO 1817. So they were nowhere close.
On Wednesday with VIX at 1786, somebody bought 2,700 of the May 27th, 22 calls and sold the 35 calls. The net cost on that was 72 cents. Kind of like that one. If you're going to get a spike. And then on Thursday with VIX at between 1782 and 1801, this was done over the course of an hour or so. somebody bought just over 12,000 of the June 2nd 55 calls for 13 cents.
Oh, so you got some size this week, sir.
Yeah, I mean that's there weren't a lot of trades, but there was one big one. And then today, 2 minutes into the trading day, I guess they felt like the end of the world was coming. They bought 500 of the May 27th 17 calls for 3.25 for 325. 2025 break even on that. VIX was already up on the day. It was at 1874. So not a lot in the weekly space. I did want to bring up a trade that hit the tape, and Mark Sebastian normally chimes in with some things like this, and since he's not here, I'm going to. But did you see that somebody did a ratio spread using the 20 and 30 calls that expire in August about an hour ago? Somebody bought 9,900 of the August 19th or the standard August 20 calls for 408, and they sold twice as many, 19,800 of the 30 calls for $1.88. 14. I'm trying to figure out what the cost on that is. 12, 24, 32 cents a spread. I think I just did that in my head. That's also when you called on me. That's what I was working on that one as well. But I kind of like that one. August has been like the new September a couple of times. We've had some volatility events that hit August, and August is a month where VIX averages higher than the average month. So I kind of like the time frame on that one. Also, the pretty low cost of if we can get VIX up around 30, they can definitely monetize this guy. So didn't really like any of those weekly trades I talked about. What not worth writing home about. I did kind of like that ratio spread at the end of the summer.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting one. I did see the 30s. I obviously some flow had gone up as we were talking because all of a sudden that volume jumped. I did see the 30s crack in the top 5 today, but I did not see the 20s. They were outside of that. You're right. About 9,900 of the 20s for $4.08 against 19,800. So exactly 1 by 2 listeners. Of the 30s for $1.88. You like that, listeners? Would you do it straight up? Would you do it maybe with futures? Would you do it straight up or with futures, Mr. Rhoads?
I like it. I like the way it is right now. Just I would do it with options.
There you go. Straight. No, I'm saying, would you do it in conjunction with futures, kind of like almost a futures repair type trade in case we get the big pop?
No. I would do this one outright like this.
You're okay with the net short units to the upside? You think you can get in there?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay with the net short units to the upside because you really got to get to probably in the mid 40s before it really screws you up. But also, if you get a run up to the 40s or so, you can take profit on those 20s and then maybe do something in conjunction with the short calls. Maybe you buy some of the 50s or something like that and hope that we come back down. I always look at the ratio spreads thinking that would be how I manage them if I put them on. If we did get a spike up to 30 or so, I would sell my 20 calls and buy some way out of, we'll see somebody buying 19,800 of the 75 calls. And we're like, what the hell are they doing there? Well, they're probably flipping this around to a short, to a bear call spread.
Yeah, as we've all seen, we could barely kiss 20, even with some of the stuff that's going on over the weekend. 30 is, a Herculean leap to get there, and 40 in this environment, nigh on an impossibility, Mr. Rhoads, unless things really get wild. So yeah, your chances of getting run over, not that great. Your broker is going to margin you, so be careful for that. You are short units, so not a free lunch at the end of the day, listeners, if you're doing that in a retail account, but just something to bear in mind, an intriguing approach if you like that way to go. Speaking of ways to go, let's see what's going up out there. We said some more flow starting to kick in, a little bit over 500,000 contracts, 515,000 on the tape right now. The big dog out in VIX land is the June 25. So if the 20s a little bit too close to home for you, how about the 25s going up today? Almost 31,000 times for about $1.26. It's like paper might be selling those. There is some OI. In fact, there's OI on all these strikes today, so they all could be closing. Number 2, 22,000 of the May 23s. Number 3, 22,000 as well of the May 25. So maybe a little bit of a tight vertical there in VIX land. If you're wondering, 31 and 21 cents approximately. So about a dime for that vertical if they are doing it. Number 4, 20,000 of the June 21 puts. We haven't talked a lot of puts above the 20 handle, but there you go, 21 puts in June. If you're wondering, if you're saying I like the cut of that jib, $2.16 is your price today. Listen, and number 5, 20,000 of the aforementioned AUG 30s, obviously part of that 1x2 listeners. Yesterday, a little bit more paper on the tape, actually exceeding this new week ADV, 740, so threatening 750,000 contracts. Not that long ago, that would be pretty light paper. These days, it's a banger. The big dog yesterday, 47,000. It was a put palooza yesterday. Everybody and their mother fading Vol. You can't really blame them. Vol's kind of been taken out to the woodshed the last couple of weeks. 47,000 of the May 18 puts. By the way, even though it's taken to the woodshed, by the end of the week, something happens to keep us pretty much right back where we were to start the week. Hence my comment at the start of the show about just overriding Vol and going away. Number 2, 34,000 of the June 18 puts, so maybe a little bit of roll action. There is size OI on both strikes listeners. Number 3, 24,000 of our old pals, the June 20 puts. Number 4, 24,000 as well of the May 17 puts. And number 5, 21,000 of the May 20 puts. If you're wondering, they were going for $1.84 yesterday, so getting pretty juicy. Volume was not juicy on Wednesday, only 628,000 contracts on the tape. The big dog, such as it was, 32,000 of the May 25s. Number 2, about 31,000 of the May 18 puts, so maybe some risk reversal action there. Number 3, 24,000 of the June 22s. Number 4, 23,000 of the May 24s. And number 5, 23,000 as well of the June 34s. That is the one trade in the top 5 that we know was closing for certain. So taking off the June 34s, if you're wondering, 64 cents for those bad boys. So still some life in those, all the way up at 34. That's kind of interesting. Tuesday, 715,000 contracts on the tape. So in this new summertime environment, mildly respectable. The big dog, 62,000 of the May 18 puts, followed by number 2, 24,000. So that's a big jump from 1 to 2, listeners. 24,000 of the May 19 half puts. Number 3, 24,000 of the May 25s. Number 4, 24,000 of the May 20s. And number 5, 22,000. Oh, going out to August. Our first AUG put in a little bit. The AUG 22 puts, listeners. If you're wondering, those bad boys, $3.11. Looks like paper might have sold those. I don't know. Mr. Rhoads, would you draw a line in the sand all the way out to August for $3.11 on the 22 put, sir?
I don't know. That's the trade that I mentioned that was using the August options. Yeah, I kind of like that one because it'll give you something to work with over the course of the summer. I know normally we say that you want you want the nearest dated future and the nearest dated options to have the best beta relative to what VIX does. So an outright purchase, that's not exactly the same as that ratio spread. And my assumption is they did that ratio spread because they think VIX is going to start working its way up in the near term, and they wanted to get a decent entry price on it.
I was thinking they went. I think it looks like they sold these. Would you sell these puts? Would you draw that line in the sand?
Oh gosh, no.
No, hell no. That's what I was getting at.
That's
insane.
No, sorry.
Dog days of summer, $3 and change for the 22 put. You could be wearing that. I could easily see a 14 or a 13 handle in August.
So, and hey, you were talking about they exited those 34 calls.
Yes.
I think they rolled a short call position down to the 22s.
Oh, that's very.
That's why I was a little, when you asked me about something, I was off over here. It looks like it does look like they sold a little over 21,000 of those 22 calls on Wednesday, and they bought back to cover those 34 calls.
Oh, so they're doing all right, and they decided, hey, let's get even more aggressive with it because Vol can't catch a bid to save its life. So they sold the 22s for $1.80, listeners, doing that net roll for around $1.16 or so, looks like. So,
and they made $1 off of the short, the other short.
Would you keep pressing it, listeners, or would you
shorted them at about $1.50?
Would you take your bucks? Would you take your buck and change and get the heck out of Dodge? I might take the buck and get the heck out of Dodge rather than being short the 22s. But then again, that trade has worked out so far. So I don't know.
They were so smart selling the 34s, and they're so full of themselves.
Yeah,
let's sell some 22s.
They're feeling it. I'm still impressed. There's still 64 cents worth of juice left on the June 34th.
People are nervous, man.
Yeah, I get it.
We didn't talk about VVIX yet.
We haven't talked about the call skew and your yang at all. I mean, that's got to be just absolutely wild. We'll get to yang at the end of the show. That's our new vol measure. What's the call skew and yang? That's the next vol metric. That's the new move index for Asia. Tuesday, 715,000, like we were saying. The AUG 22 puts, like we were just joking, drawing a line in the sand for $3.11. If you're wondering, both Russell and I do not like that trade. I would not sell those at all. I might take the other side of that trade. I might say buy them. And Monday, 704,000 contracts on the tape. The big dog, 40,000 almost exactly of the July 75s. It's been a while since we had some just good raucous upside. And here you go. July 75s. You wondering, what do you think a July 75 goes for? I'll tell you what, I'll give you a couple of seconds to mull it over in your head, listeners. Are you ready? Do you have your number in your head? Okay, 31 cents. That's what they went for on Monday. So again, talking about that call wing, they're not giving away even the 75s. Now, obviously, you're getting some duration for that. You're going all the way out to July, but still, 31 cents, July 75s. If Twitter polls still worked, we could ask you if you want to buy or sell those. But alas, they no longer do. Number 2, 36,000 of the May 18 app puts. Number 3, 26,000 of the May straight up 18 puts. Number 4, 23,000 of the May 19 puts. And number 5, 22,000 of the May 20s. Again, there's pretty much size OI on just about every strike I talked about this week. So they could literally all be closing. Just bear that in mind out there, listening. Mr. Rhoads, we talked about a few. Any other trades that you noticed out here in VIX land, or any of these other trades stand out to you in VIX options, sir?
The 75 calls, we got to assume that's got to be matched up with something.
Yeah.
Just not 100%. I was digging around trying to find that one from Monday and to see if maybe I could back into what they're actually doing there, because I severely doubt that they're just outright buying the 75 calls. A
part of me hopes that they are, though. That's just fun.
Yeah, I know, because it's all exciting.
Speaking of exciting,
it gives us something to make fun of.
Speaking of exciting, it doesn't get much more exciting than SVIX. I'm trying to think the last time SVIX was unched on the show. 2 weeks in a row, Mr. Rhoads, but that's exactly what we had. It was unched at 19.5 last week, and coming into the show today, as of right now, actually, guess where it is? 19.5. Well, actually 1946 if you want to be precise, but pretty much literally unched 2 weeks in a row, Mr. Rhoads. Once again, I am kicking myself. I was saying earlier, I don't know if I really feel like overwriting this here. Yeah, I should have overwritten the hell out of this thing, because it has done literally nothing over the last 2 weeks, which again, kind of just wild times in the vol market. Doing a little bit of flow, though. 6,700 contracts today. The ADV is 7,300. It's been kind of locked at that level, unchanged ADV-wise for a couple of weeks as well, which is kind of interesting. But threatening that level today, I had to go look while we were talking, Mr. Rhoads, and it looks like about 2,100 of the July 20s have gone up for about $1.53. Looks like paper is probably overwriting those. That's an opening trade, so maybe somebody's washing his hands of SVIX all the way out to July. Interesting. What do you think of that one for $1.53? And what's going on in your SVIX world these days, sir?
I have a little bit of SVIX just because I'm supposed to own it. Not particularly thrilled with it. I know I'm jumping to the other one, but I did the UVIX a little bit earlier today. Typically when the market's under pressure, I go ahead and do the UVIX trade early as opposed to near the close. Just because it seems like when we're weak on Fridays, we seem to follow through a bit toward the end of the day more often than not. Definitely need to test that a bit. The SVIX, as long as we're kind of in a flat curve and we're not moving around a whole lot, typically you would think that SVIX would be a great hold for the summer. We're just creeping lower, not a whole lot going on. Got a bit of a premium of the futures relative to the spot. SVIX is going to do wonders for you this weekend if nothing happens with that May and June premium over the spot right now. So it probably isn't the worst idea in the world, but systematically, I'm not supposed to use ideas. I'm just supposed to follow what Gretsch tells me. And Gretsch says I'm supposed to be owning that UVIX for the weekend.
Yeah, right now it should be like owning SVIX getting into December. You should get some nice upside juice out of it, and yet, alas, it has done not. I see a question coming in here for our chat. I was going to save it for the Vol voicemail, but we're talking SVIX now. Let's just get to it now, Mr. Rhoads. This is coming from the OG himself, Mr. Option God. He says, I know Mark is already long some SVIX. Yes, I am. You've been there in Oddity, so you know my saga with SVIX and the fact that I have not overwritten it at all, which I am lamenting. He keeps going on here. Where would Russell think about getting back in, and would he sell puts or just buy some shares? You said you've done a little bit of a nibble already, but where would you look at your next level about really getting back in? And also, would you sell the puts or would you buy the shares, sir?
I would buy the shares. I'm trying to look at where I got executed. I paid around 19 for it earlier this week, just because I'm. It's part of the long-term strategy. I'm supposed to have a short vol position on, and and match it up with UVIX, and I haven't had it on for the past couple of weeks, which has hurt me. So, kind of biting the bullet there. It's a quarter position, so it's not a whole lot of conviction on that one. If under 18, I would add to it. I have a little thing that'll email me if it drops below 18.
I kind of did something similar. When the first wave of sell-offs, I tried using the options. I sold puts around the 19 level. I got some put to me, and it was good. I tried using puts to stagger in on the way down, and I quickly realized this way lies madness. These markets are just atrocious. So I started nibbling on the underlying as well. So it does seem like at a certain point, everyone just throws up their hands and just ends up buying the shares if that's the way you want to go. But there is a little bit of flow out there today, so it's not nothing, nearly 7,000 contracts. If this can keep up, it's got to get to at least, 12, 15,000 contracts a day to get some semblance of, normalcy in these spreads. Right now, if you go outside of front month at the money in SVIX, these markets are just unusable. And even if you go, a lot of people like to trade the puts, obviously, so they want to sell the puts. The out-of-the-money put markets are atrocious as well, so you could end up getting run over on slippage. So until that changes, I don't know. But I would love to see, and we've been talking how long now? How long have we been saying, man, just a little bit more flow in SVIX, and you could actually do some stuff. Speaking of a little bit more flow, and also being literally forget about SVIX for a second. That's an inverse product. What about a levered 2x VIX product, Mr. Rhoads, being literally unchanged 2 weeks in a row? It was at 5.25 on the show last week.
I know.
5.25 today. And I'm okay, this to be honest, it's at 5.21, but that's a rounding error for UVIX. It's pretty much.
I'm gonna go in and buy about 300 or 400,000 shares right now so we can make it 5.25.
There we go. And you said you bought yours. I already had my UVIX from, let's just say, earlier in the week. I've been picking up some UVIX around here, just on the interesting hope that maybe we get a little bit of a vol spike. So far, it has done literally nothing. I think at around the 5 level, your downside is not as bad. Obviously, we could have just, peace everywhere and the markets explode upside and then, vol goes to die. That is possible. But outside of that, I don't mind carrying a little bit of UVIX a little bit longer in this environment versus, let's say, UVIX at a 40, where you got to get the hell out of Dodge really quick. It's 52,000 contracts is the ADV, and right now they've done exactly 52,000. So SVIX and UVIX looking eerily similar, both unchanged 2 weeks in a row, both pretty much exactly at their ADV as of showtime. So it's almost like they're related products, Mr. Rhoads. Go fancy that. Let's see. The big dog in UVIX today, 8,500 of the 5 halves. They've gone up for about 4 cents. Looks like somebody rolling the bones maybe on a little bit of a settle north of the 5 half level. Right now, not looking great, but hey, we can move a quarter of a point in UVIX like nothing, especially towards the end of the session when sometimes vol gets a little bit spicier. So let's hope we get a little bit of a spike, and then you and I, Mr. Rhoads, will be laughing all the way to the UVIX bank. Let's see, number 2, about 4,200 of the May 5s. Again, all going the way of the dodo today. And 4,000 today of the June 5s. That was opening, if you're wondering, 75 cents. Mr. Rhoads, would you come in right now and pay 75 cents for the auction? These are not even straight up June. These are just June 5th. These are the weekly.
Yeah, it's next week.
I like that.
No, and I'm sitting here thinking, and I want to, have a market structure discussion for just a second here. If I were to buy the 5.5 calls, and I don't have enough and I'm not set up, my broker will automatically take me out of them. If I were to buy these 5.5 calls with thinking that they're going to, that the ETF is going to settle above 5.5, I probably want to be in there and be prepared to try and sell them and not have my broker sell them out under me.
Yeah,
I worry about doing trades like this on an ETF where your broker takes a look at, in about 80, almost over 8,000 of these have traded at, 2 and 3 and 4 cents. And it looks like, maybe somebody is trying to either they're short them and buying them back, or if they're speculating that we get a really high, we get a run into the close with UVIX. Well, the issue behind that could be the run happens in the last half hour and your broker sees that you're close to in the money and they sell those suckers out from under you at a terrible price.
Yeah, I would wager that happening more times than not. They're going to liquidate you on those.
I hear that a lot from college students that are holding options into expiration. And they're like, why? And without naming any brokers, why did my broker do this to me? You could buy this thing for 3 cents. You could have a $5.65 settlement, but you could be sold out at 3, 4, or 5 cents, especially if they know you're long them. I'm serious.
By the way, how awesome, as an aside, how awesome is that you're having that conversation with college students now? They're mad that their at-the-money options are being automatically exercised. That's just a fantastic thing. If I had said that to the undergrads at my school, they would have looked at me like I was an insane person. Maybe for other reasons as well, but interesting stuff out there, Mr. Rhoads. I like that. So yeah, listeners, are you slinging a little UVIX? And would you ride stuff to the close? Would you roll the bones on these 5 halves? I don't know. June 5 is expiring. Now, these are not expiring next week. These are expiring on the 5th. So you got to go out about 3 weeks. It's still 75 cents. I mean, you can come in right now. If you want to buy UVIX and do the covered call, you're selling them 50 cents above parity. They're not the worst thing, if you want to just clip all your upside for the next few weeks. And maybe if you're worried about it, you buy some out-of-the-money strike against it for a nickel, and now there you go. Interesting stuff out here in UVIX, listeners, as it keeps vacillating and is literally unched a week after week. Speaking of unched, UVXY 36 even. Say it with me, listeners. Unchanged from last week. I had to put up about 20,000 contracts when we started the show. The ADV was 30,000. That's down 3,000. Right now they've put up 24,000, so getting a little bit more. We got to get Mr. Listman back on, Mr. UVXY trader out there, to see if he still trades it, or now that UVIX is doing more volume than UVXY, I don't really see the argument for UVXY, but maybe he will have a compelling argument to get us all back in on UVXY. So we'll have to chat with him. And VXX literally unched 28, actually 28.02, so 0.02 away. But I mean, my goodness, listeners, it's like literally nothing happened. So overwrite summer has definitely, I was joking before, Mr. Rhoads, but with these kind of numbers unchanged week after week, VIX ADV below 700K, summer has definitely started. If you were waiting for the summer bell to ring, listeners, this is it. 40,000 contracts on the tape today. The ADV 39,000. If you're wondering what is the big dog out in VXX today, it's the 27 halves expiring today. So an in-the-money call by about $0.50. Going up about 6,000 times. Paper looks like selling these for about 90 cents. So far, they're looking good. I would buy those back pretty quick, and then you're looking pretty good. Mr. Rhoads, anything catching your eye in your beloved UVXY or VXX, sir?
Nah, nothing. I'm just kind of looking through some of the option activity. There's nothing that gets me terribly excited here. It just looks like people are getting out of shorts. That's really what it looks like. Looks like a lot of people are covering their short before the close.
Maybe you will get excited by some listener questions. Let's go to the volatility voicemail.
It's time to share your thoughts and opinions with your fellow volatility traders. It's time to check the volatility voicemail. Make your voice heard by dialing 779-669-4VOL. Posting a comment on the optionsinsider.com, sending an email to questions@theoptionsinsider.com, or posting your questions to twitter.com/options. or facebook.com/theoptionsinsider.
All right, Mr. Rose, looks like the folks know it's a slow vol week, so they're hitting us up with some questions. This is a long one coming in here from Frank. It's an interesting one. I suppose he says, with Kevin Warsh taking the Fed gavel from Powell this weekend, so he wants to be clever, taking the Fed gavel from Powell this weekend. With the VIX at about 18, is the Warsh Hawk already priced into the show? I think he means into the vol, but sure, okay. Or is the market underestimating the vol of a new Fed regime? Well, you and I have been talking about this for a little while now. It seems like the new Fed regime, regardless of what they hired this guy to do, which is cut rates, the market is pricing in a hike, at least in terms of rates. The equity market don't seem to give an F, sir. He wants to know, do you think, is the market underestimating the vol of this new Fed regime, sir?
Absolutely. And what you just said with respect to the interest rate thing, yesterday, the market was pricing in the next move being a hike, but not until April of next year. That moved up to March today. And I think that's part of why the equity markets are under a bit of pressure. But the derivative markets are pricing in hikes, and for us, which is understandable in the longer term, but their hikes are priced in across the board in the APAC and Europe, and that stuff does end up bleeding through to us. We're going to get a hike in Europe a week before our next Fed meeting, based on an 89% chance of a hike at the June meeting. I think they're going to have one, but they're looking at 3 hikes over in Europe before the year's over with. None here, but I wouldn't be surprised if they have to continue on that path if we start to see an acceleration of the market thinking we're going to get a hike before this year's over with. And by association, you would expect the equity market to not like that. Now, I've been to conferences the past couple of weeks, and I really was bummed about not being on last week because I had a lot to share from a UREX conference that I went to. But one of the things was one of the comments I heard from 2 different panels was, instead of hedging your equities because you think rates are going up, that what you're seeing is smarter money hedge the factor that they think is going to hurt equities. So you might hedge against higher rates, and if we get higher rates and equities continue to go up, you make money off of your higher rate hedge, and you continue to participate with the equity market. That came up with respect to interest rates. It really came up with respect to oil out of some folks from Europe. That if I think inflation's going to be a problem because of higher oil prices, I'm expressing it through the oil market and not necessarily through puts on equities. That may be a reason that there's a lot of risk in our minds, but only an 18 VIX on the screen.
And that makes a lot of sense in this environment where one product seems to be behaving like you'd expect and one product is just seemingly as irrational as you could possibly imagine. So if one's going to be completely irrational, trying to hedge that one doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. You're right. So go to the product that might behave a little bit more predictably, and you could still do all right on the trade. So I think that's kind of interesting. Speaking of interesting, sir, were our vol prognostications last week, were they interesting? It's time to find out. It is time for the crystal ball.
It's time to peer into the future and reveal what the volatility gods hold in store. It's time to look into the crystal ball.
All right, everybody, welcome to the crystal ball, the portion of the show where we attempt to wrestle with the vol gods, see what they have in store for the coming week. And I teased you. Were our predictions for last week, were they interesting? The answer is no. None of us were. I was the closest. I was at an 1835, and coming in to this portion of the show, we're right about a 1794, 1795 in VIX cash. So that puts me about 0.4 of a point away, a little more than that, which is outside of our margin of victory, unfortunately, listeners. So no rest, no joy for me this week. I had a bullseye, almost an exact bullseye last week. This week, no joy, but I was the closest. The evil Hans Gruber also joined me on the show last week. He was at an 1876, so no joy for him at all. That means this week, Russell and Gretchen get to go first. Mr. Rhoads and or Gretchen, what are you feeling for this time next week, sir?
1796.
Oh,
I know that's right in line.
almost exactly.
I do want to chime in for old Gretch here because she's not the one that got food poisoning. 1751 would have been the prediction for this week. So yeah, it was. She was kind of close, but
she was about as close as I was in the other direction.
Yeah.
So there you go, Gretchen. She was mad at you. She's like, I'm not sick. Let me do the show without you. But alas, you did not. 1796. So Russell doing the amazing math of exactly where we are this week for next week. That's what Gretchen is putting down out here. I don't know, listeners. Can I redeem myself with another bullseye? I don't know. I'm still feeling a little bit more juice as of right now. That hasn't been the case, even though 1835 was obviously looking pretty good until it wasn't. In fact, that was almost literally a bullseye when we started the show. I think we were at almost exactly 1835. So we were looking really good, but the vol gods, they are fickle. They are capricious. We all know this, listeners. So you know what? I'm going to say the hell with the vol gods and go right back to the well. In fact, I'm going to dial it up a little bit more. Take that, 1845. So if you want your correct prognostication, we're looking at an 1845. If you want to go with the robots, 1796. And that is going to do it for us on the old Vol Views this week. Let me just check really quick. I know we have a bunch of 15s in our chat because some wiseacre puts 15 every week. They keep doing it until they're correct, Mr. Rhodes, kind of like the meatball.
I think that's why Andrew won't come back.
Because he's mad about the 15s.
He's being picked on by the chat.
Yeah, well,
low VIX prediction.
We got an 1870 here from OG, 1692. Man, we're all over the place in the chat. I like it. That's what makes a market out here. You're not just doing the Gretchen same as last week. Oh, yeah. Someone's pointing out we are heading into Memorial Day weekend. I do believe that's...
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. See?
Oh, no. I got to make an adjustment. Nah.
Now you got to adjust everything. Now you're 1794 instead of 1796.
Yeah, I got to take 2 cents off of it.
I'm leaving mine, baby. Deal with it. But unfortunately, that is going to do it for us on Vol Views this week. Remember, if you haven't checked them out yet, check out our friends over there at Tasty Trade. They got a cool little promo going for you folks here on Vol Views and on the option block only. Check out that promo code. It's tastytrade.com/insider, I do believe. Special URL as well. That will get you, if you like saving money on your trades, they're going to give you double the rebates just for the month of May. So you got to get in before the end of the month if you want to qualify for that going forward. It's a hefty chunk of change you could earn back if you trade a lot. They know the Vol Views audience trades a lot. tastytrade.com/insider. Again, got to get in there before the end of the month if you want to get while the getting is good. All that info is in the intro and the outro. And Mr. Rhodes, if folks want to check out your Substack, maybe stay up late arguing with Gretchen, where should they go? What should they do?
I just tweeted out and I tagged you on it that I did finally finish the block trading paper. I've brought it up a million times. So you can, it's free on SSRN, but I'm getting ready to put out daily recommendations on the findings. That's kind of the next step now that the spring semester's over with. So keep an eye out for that. And that's just something like everything else. I'm just going to throw it out there. I don't expect anybody to give me money.
There we go. Just retweeted it for you so all the world can see it. So if for some reason you don't follow Russell because you're scared of getting that drunk Tampa weatherman, I get it. Then if you're following us, you can get access to his paper there as well. Mr. Rhodes, how many times has your wife come down in the middle of the night looking for you because you're not in bed and you're at the kitchen table, hunched over a laptop, locked in deep, deep disagreement, dare I say it, argument with Gretchen, sir?
Oh, it's becoming a problem. It's becoming a problem. No, like my wife was like yelling at me about something the other day, and I said, Gretchen never says that.
I knew she was a little bit jealous of Gretchen. Who wouldn't be? Gretchen, she just predicts vol all day. What else do you need?
That's right. And yeah, I'm gonna keep myself out of trouble. There you go. You'll get in trouble. What's in my mind.
You got a house full of ladies. You'll definitely get in trouble, your listeners. But there you go. Russell's wife. We're all jealous of Gretchen. At the end of the day, listen, that is gonna do it for us on Volatility Views. I want to thank you for joining us throughout the week. If you're hanging out on the on-demand side, you can come back after the closing bell to break down the final day's worth of activity on the Hot Options Report. Make sure you're checking out the analytics there as well, thehotoptionsreport.com. Some ridiculous analytics, and now, unfortunately, that platforms like Trade Alert and others are maybe going the way of the dodo. TheHotOptionsReport.com, one of the best places to get some equity options analytics, and you literally can't beat the price. They're stupid cheap. They don't even sponsor the show. It's just a great plug because it's a great platform. TheHotOptionsReport.com. It's the name of the show. It's also where you get access to the URLs. And of course, we'll be back in a few minutes for all you pro folks. So get the rest of your prognostications in, and then we'll be talking some unusual activity on options oddities. If you want to join that fun, theoptionsinsider.com/pro. Then back again next week. Who knows? Maybe Vol and all these products won't be literally unch next Friday as we come back for one more episode of Volatility Views. Stay safe out there, everybody.
Staying on top of the market is practically a full-time job. Tasty Trade has the advanced tools and robust market data to help you keep up with the latest shifts. Get advanced charting, 100-plus indicators, options backtesting, deep market data, and more with your account. Join Tasty Trade today and earn a double commission rebate up to $3,000 total on your stock and ETF option trades for 30 days. Visit tastytrade.com/insider for more info. All applicable regulatory exchange and clearing fees still apply. Options involve risks and are not suitable for all investors. Learn more about Tasty Trade promo terms and conditions at tastytrade.com/double. Offer expires May 31st, 2026. Tasty Trade Incorporated is a registered broker-dealer and member of FINRA, NFA, and SIPC.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.